High upon Mount Olympus, the air is calm, and the clouds drift slowly across the sky. The throne of Zeus gleams in the fading light, its power silent yet undeniable. Around him, the gods stand watchful, each carrying their own thoughts and quiet hopes. Yet tonight feels different. A hush has fallen, as though the heavens themselves wait to listen. Zeus, father of gods and men, sits tall, but his gaze lingers far beyond the mountains. He senses change in the mortal world, a tide shifting, voices rising from below. The prayers of kings and shepherds mix together, shaping a song of hope and fear. For even the ruler of Olympus knows power cannot endure without harmony and trust. Athena, daughter of wisdom, steps forward, her presence calm and unshaken by thunder. She does not come to challenge, but to speak, her voice carrying steady clarity. The gods turn their eyes to her, curious, cautious, awaiting what counsel she will bring. The sky glows softly, as if the stars lean closer to hear the words she carries. It is not a moment of war, but of thought, where wisdom seeks to guide power. And in that stillness, the story begins. The halls of Olympus stretch wide, carved in light, crowned with eternal flame above the clouds. Pillars rise like white trees, reaching to the heavens, holding up a sky that never fades. The air hums with quiet divinity, a silence woven from power too old to name. Here gods gather in a circle, their eyes sharp, their thoughts hidden behind immortal calm. They wait not for feasts, not for song, but for a meeting where destinies may turn. At the center, Zeus sits upon his throne, the weight of storm and order in his gaze. His crown of lightning is dim tonight, his hand resting idle upon the arm of power. He looks not at his children, nor at his siblings, but toward the unseen world below. Mortals stir in their valleys and cities, raising prayers of fear and longing to the sky. Whispers of their voices ride the winds upward, filling Olympus with a song of need. The gods know this sound well, for it is prayer that binds heaven and earth together. Yet something is changing now, a restlessness in mortal hearts, a question rising with hope. Zeus senses it like thunder before rain, a tension that coils but does not yet break. Around him, the gods shift, some with unease, others with anticipation of his command. Hera watches with measured calm, her eyes sharp as polished bronze, weighing every silence. Apollo leans in shadow, his golden lyre resting, his gaze turned toward distant mortal fires. Ares drums his fingers restlessly, though no battle is called, his spirit longs for movement. Hermes smiles faintly, but his eyes dart quick, already hearing whispers carried on mortal tongues. Demeter folds her hands, thinking of fields below, of harvests shaken by troubled prayers. Poseidon, lord of seas, frowns deeply, for he feels storms rising in waters uncalled. Even Hestia, gentle flame of home, glows, dimmer, sensing the unrest of mortal hearths. They all wait for Zeus, their father and king, to speak, to shape, to command. But the king of Olympus sits silent, his gaze wandering across the halls of eternity. He remembers battles fought long ago, when power alone secured his throne against chaos. Yet wisdom now whispers differently, that storms may break what they were meant to protect. The silence grows heavier, a curtain of expectation falling across the gathering of gods. Each god wonders if thunder will roar or if words will weigh heavier than storms. The torches flicker though no wind stirs, as if the fire itself leans in to listen. Zeus lifts his head slowly, his eyes bright with thought, yet shadowed by quiet doubt. He does not yet speak, for even the ruler of all must measure his own heart. At last, his voice rolls like distant thunder, deep, solemn, carrying the weight of skies. My children, my kin, The world stirs below us, restless and loud with rising voice. They call to us with prayers that no longer beg, but question, wonder, and demand. This change we feel is not a storm of war, but a shift in the soul of man. The words echo through the hall, settling upon immortal ears like sparks upon dry stone. The gods murmur softly, a wave of unease passing through their immortal stillness. For the first time in many ages, Olympus trembles not from rage, but from thought. Zeus rests his hand upon his throne, his eyes narrowing as silence claims the hall. The gathering of gods has begun, and with it, the fate of heaven and earth awaits. Athena rises slowly, her steps echoing lightly across the marble floor of Olympus's grand hall. Her armor gleams, not with threat, but with calm strength, every line carved by wisdom and clarity. The owl upon her shield glimmers faintly, as if knowledge itself leans forward to listen close. All eyes turn toward her, the circle of gods shifting, their silence deepening into reverent stillness. She does not rush, for the words of counsel must arrive steady, carried like clear waters from a spring. Zeus watches her approach, his brow stern, yet beneath it rests a glimmer of anticipation unspoken. Athena bows her head slightly, not as servant, but as daughter who respects power and truth. Her voice rings clear, measured, calm, carrying the weight of reason across the immortal chamber. Father, you hold the skies, the seas, the earth. Yet even kings require guidance in shadow. Thunder commands fear, but wisdom shapes loyalty, and loyalty endures longer than fear alone. Her words ripple through the air like gentle waves, and even Poseidon tilts his head to hear. Apollo nods faintly, the music of her thought echoing against the silent strings of his lyre. Hera narrows her gaze, half proud and half cautious, watching her daughter speak so freely to the king. Ares shifts impatiently, unaccustomed to stillness. Yet even he grows quiet under the weight of wisdom. Athena continues, each word deliberate, woven carefully like threads binding a great and lasting tapestry. The mortals stir, Father. Their prayers change. They no longer seek only mercy, but understanding. They wonder why storms strike, why fates shift, why silence answers cries beneath endless skies. Her eyes lift to the hall, meeting each god as if reminding them all of their duty. For without wisdom, power grows brittle, and without balance, even Olympus may tremble in silence. The torches burn brighter, their flames swaying as if leaning forward, eager for her counsel. Zeus shifts slightly, thunder flickering faintly in his eyes, though his hand remains still upon his throne. Athena's tone softens, not in weakness, but in compassion that carries the strength of quiet mercy. Great Zeus, you have led with might, and Olympus has stood eternal under your thunder's reign. But the world changes, and we must listen, lest we be left as echoes of forgotten storms. A hush falls deeper, as if the very stars above press their ears against Olympus's silver walls. Demeter closes her eyes, hearing truth within Athena's words, like seeds stirred beneath the earth. Hermes leans forward, thoughtful, sensing currents of mortal hearts carried upon every restless prayer. Even Hestia's flame grows steadier, warmed by the hope that wisdom may temper divine might. Athena stops at the foot of the throne, her gaze unwavering, her stance both humble and strong. She does not raise her spear, for her weapon tonight is counsel, sharpened with patience and clarity. Father, allow me to speak further, not against your rule, but to strengthen it with wisdom. For no kingdom endures by fear alone, but by the trust of those who look to the sky. Zeus regards her with silence, his thunder subdued, his thoughts rolling like distant storms unspoken. The hall waits, gods leaning closer, breath still as the air thickens with the weight of counsel. Athena has stepped forward, her voice steady, her words unfolding like dawn upon shadowed peaks. The approach is complete, the council has begun, and Olympus trembles not with storm but with thought. Athena lifts her gaze, her words flowing steady, carrying the weight of wisdom forged through ages. The hall is still, every god caught between silence and thought, as if time itself listens. She steps closer, her armor quiet, her presence glowing not with war, but with truth unveiled. Father, she begins again, her tone clear. True power is not the strike of thunder alone. It is the strength to hold storm and silence in balance, to wield might with restraint. Her eyes move across the hall, resting on each god as if weaving them into her counsel. Power without balance consumes itself, but wisdom guides power to endure beyond the passing age. Her words settle heavy, like rain upon dry earth, stirring reflection where pride once stood. Apollo inclines his head, his golden light softening, as if dawn itself agrees with her voice. Demeter's hands relax, her thoughts drifting to seasons that thrive only through measured care. Even Hermes grows still, no longer restless, hearing the truth like a current flowing steady and deep. Athena turns back to Zeus, her father, her king, her gaze unshaken by his silent thunder. You hold the storm, Father, yet storms fade. But balance builds mountains that cannot be moved. Her hand rests lightly upon her shield, the owl etched there gleaming in quiet approval. The mortal world does not only need fear to follow, it needs guidance, fairness, and light. They look to Olympus not for wrath alone, but for reason that shapes the path of men. Zeus leans forward slightly, his eyes narrowing, though no lightning escapes. Only thought stirs within. The gods lean closer, their immortal forms caught between awe and the pull of quiet agreement. Athena's voice rises, not in force, but in resonance, each word falling like stone into water. Strength untempered blinds itself, but strength guided by wisdom becomes the pillar of eternity. The hall seems to breathe with her words, marble and flame alike, echoing the truth she carries. Hera studies her keenly, her lips pressed thin, torn between pride and caution for Zeus's rule. Poseidon's frown eases, his sea-blue eyes reflecting the truth that tides answer balance, not rage. Even Ares falls still, for though he craves battle, he knows war without balance is ruin. The silence of Olympus is no longer empty, but filled with thought, as if reshaped by counsel. Athena lowers her tone, her words softer now, yet stronger for the calm they carry. Father, the world below thrives when balance rules, when justice tempers the strike of storm. And Olympus itself endures when wisdom steadies the throne, when counsel shapes the hand of power. Zeus sits unmoving, but his gaze glimmers, his heart weighed with both pride and reflection. He recalls his rise, the battles fought, the throne seized with force, yet held with growing wisdom. Athena sees this flicker, the shadow of thought in his immortal eyes, and she continues. The storm is mighty, but it is the calm after that shapes the land and seed. Without balance, even the sky itself would collapse, torn apart by endless raging thunder. Her final words fall into silence, a stillness deeper than storm, brighter than flame. The gods wait, holding their breaths, sensing a turning moment, a truth carved into Olympus itself. Athena stands unwavering, Her counsel offered, her wisdom shining brighter than armor or spear. And in that sacred stillness, the meaning of balance takes root in the heart of heaven. The hall of Olympus holds its breath, every god waiting, every flame leaning, as Athena's counsel deepens. Her voice is calm yet unshaken, like the river that cuts through stone not by force but by patience. She steps slowly, her eyes lifting toward the sky above, as if hearing whispers only she can catch. "Father," she says, her words steady. The voices of mortals rise stronger than ever before. They no longer bow only in fear, but question the silence that answers their desperate prayer. Their voices are not mere cries in the wind, but threads weaving a new song of longing. The gods stir, unease flashing across immortal faces, for the prayers of mortals are the lifeblood of Olympus. Without them, shrines would fall silent, altars cold, and the bond between heaven and earth would fray. Hermes leans forward, his keen ears recalling words carried on restless winds from distant valleys. "They speak," Athena continues, "not only of storms and harvests, but of justice, of fairness, of hope." They wonder if Olympus hears them, if the gods understand the struggles they carry each day. Her voice softens, like a flame dimming only to burn brighter, wrapping counsel in compassion. The shepherd asks why his prayers for safety vanish into silence, while wolves still prowl the night. The mother wonders why her offerings fall into ash, while her child weakens under fever's weight. The soldier questions why courage earns no shield when war consumes his land and his brothers. Each word echoes heavy in the chamber, painting mortal voices into the halls of immortality. Demeter lowers her gaze, her heart burdened with the cries of hungry fields and weary farmers. Apollo closes his eyes, hearing in memory the mortal songs that now sing more of sorrow than joy. Even Hera, stern and watchful, shifts slightly, her pride pierced by the truth of mortal yearning. Athena pauses, her silence deliberate, her words lingering like incense in the air of Olympus. She lifts her shield, not to threaten, but to show the owl's watchful eyes etched in gold. "The mortals do not seek thunder, Father," she says, her tone like iron wrapped in silk. "They seek a voice that answers, a light that guides, a wisdom that cares for their path. Their faith binds them to Olympus, but faith without answer grows brittle, fragile, and may break." The gods exchange glances, uneasy, as if realizing that silence itself may undo their thrones. Poseidon grips his trident tightly, recalling the restless seas where sailors cry yet hear no reply. Ares scowls, though even he knows soldiers tire when sacrifice earns no sign from the divine. Hestia's flame wavers gently, as though echoing mortal hearths that burn with fading trust. Athena takes another step, her presence commanding not by force, but by the gravity of truth. "Father, if mortals lose their faith, Olympus weakens, not from war, but from the silence we keep. Their prayers are the bridge, their trust the stone, and without them, the sky itself will crack." Her words strike deep, not with thunder, but with weight, shaking the eternal pillars of Olympus. Zeus's eyes darken, his thoughts deep, for he knows truth lives within her unyielding counsel. The hall is silent again, but this silence is different, filled not with pride but with reflection. Athena bows her head slightly, her voice gentler now, though no less firm in its resolve. "Father, listen to their voices, for to hear them is not weakness, but the greatest strength. And to answer them is not surrender, but the truest way to rule with wisdom and might." Her counsel lingers in the air, a truth impossible to dismiss, a seed planted in divine soil. The gods do not move, the torches do not flicker, as Olympus holds the sound of mortal voices. And in that stillness, wisdom binds heaven to earth, and the story of faith finds its breath. The night over Olympus grows quiet, the stars listening as Athena's words linger in the air of gods. Zeus remains still, his thunderous gaze softened not by weakness, but by the weight of reflection. Athena stands unwavering, her figure outlined by torchlight, her wisdom shining brighter than fire. She knows her words have pierced the silence, but counsel must be more than warning and truth. Father, she continues, power is not lost when shared, but deepened when guided by wisdom's hand. The mortals do not need endless gifts or thunder, but guidance that shapes the path they walk. They look not for storms of anger, but for signs of justice, fairness, and a voice that cares. The gods shift uneasily, each feeling the pull of her words, like currents drawing them toward change. Aphrodite, ever tender, whispers softly of mortals who love with hope, but fear love's cruel betrayal. Hephaestus recalls the weary craftsmen, whose fires dim as their offerings vanish into silent skies. Artemis lowers her gaze, thinking of hunters who bow at moonlight, but find no answer in the forest. Athena lets their silence build, her eyes bright with patience, her wisdom striking deeper than blades. Father, rule is not kept by fear alone, for fear fades, but trust endures through generations. When mortals trust, they build temples with joy, sing songs not of need, but of devotion. When they despair, their altars crumble, their voices fade, and Olympus loses more than prayers. Zeus listens, his heart torn between pride of thunder and the truth in Athena's calm counsel. He knows storms can break, but cannot build. Lightning can strike, but cannot mend what is broken. Athena steps closer, her shield lowered, her voice now soft as flowing water over ancient stone. Father, greatness lies not only in strength, but in wisdom to hear even the quietest voice. For in their whispers, mortals reveal truths that storms cannot silence nor time erase. The gods murmur, some doubtful, some thoughtful, as wisdom plants roots within the halls of eternity. Hermes nods, recalling journeys where mortal eyes search skies for any sign of Olympus above. Demeter sighs, hearing in memory the prayers of farmers who toil, yet hunger still haunts their fields. Apollo opens his golden eyes, struck by the thought that music without audience soon fades. Athena turns once more to Zeus, her counsel sharp but clothed in the gentleness of a daughter. You fear their doubt, Father, but greater is the danger if they no longer look to Olympus. If their faith breaks, their gaze will turn inward, and the bond of heaven and earth will fail. Her words fall like steady rain, not to destroy, but to nourish seeds long buried in the soil. The flame of Hestia brightens, as if the hearth of Olympus answers with warmth to mortal longing. Even Ares pauses, for though his heart beats with battle, he knows victory without loyalty is hollow. Athena breathes deeply, her eyes steady, her voice carrying the strength of both wisdom and hope. Let Olympus not rule with thunder alone, but with justice, guidance, and the promise of care. For thunder may frighten, but wisdom will bind, and in binding, Olympus will never fall. Her words settle over the gods, like morning mist, impossible to grasp, yet impossible to ignore. Zeus's hand tightens around his scepter, not in anger, but as though holding the weight of choice. The torches flicker, the night outside grows still, as Olympus itself waits for the thunderer to speak. Yet in that pause, one truth is certain. Athena's counsel has carved a path no storm can erase. The clouds drift silently above Olympus, their silver glow casting shadows over the great council hall. Athena stands firm, her counsel given, yet the silence that follows carries more weight than thunder. Zeus's eyes are distant, reflecting storms and stars, his mind bound in thought deeper than the seas. The gods wait, their immortal patience thinning, each heart curious for the path their king will choose. At last, Hera speaks, her voice sharp but measured, for even she cannot ignore the truth revealed. Athena, she says, your words are bold, but they do not dismiss the burden of divine authority. Mortals must never forget who shapes their fates, else they confuse reverence with entitlement. Her words ripple through the hall, carrying pride, yet even pride bends when faced with wisdom. Athena bows slightly, her eyes never faltering, her reply calm as stone standing against the tide. Reverence is not lost when compassion is given. It is deepened when mortals see justice in Olympus. Authority is not weakened when guidance is shared. It is honored when mortals trust its hand. Hera narrows her gaze, but the fire in Athena's tone stirs doubt even in her proud heart. Apollo raises his lyre, his golden voice gentle, echoing thoughts woven with light and melody. I have sung the songs of mortals, he says, and their verses now carry sorrow more than praise. They seek not to defy, but to be heard. Their voices are not rebellion, but a plea for light. The hall hums with shifting tones, gods caught between the thunder of pride and the whisper of truth. Poseidon leans forward, his trident gleaming like the sea under moonlight, his words deep as tides. The oceans churn with mortal cries, their ships adrift, their nets torn, their courage breaking. Yet their prayers reach me still, though they doubt if Olympus hears their storm-battered voices. Athena listens, her resolve strengthened, her counsel taking root in the very soil of Olympus. Father, she speaks again, to answer does not mean to yield. It means to guide with clarity. It is not surrender to care, but the purest form of rule to shape with wisdom and foresight. Zeus's grip tightens on his scepter, lightning sleeping within, restless yet uncalled. He has heard the clash of storms, but this is a storm of truth, quieter, heavier, unrelenting. Artemis steps from the shadows, her silver bow at her side, her voice calm as the forest night. I walk among the mortals in silence, she says, and I see their reverence in every gaze at the moon. But reverence without response becomes emptiness, and emptiness turns worship into fading embers. Her words draw murmurs of agreement, for even the huntress knows silence can cut sharper than arrows. Hestia's flame glows steady, her warmth filling the hall with comfort against the chill of doubt. Home is built on trust, she whispers, and Olympus is their home as much as the hearth is mine. If trust dies, no fire can warm them, no shrine can hold them, no bond can endure the cold. The hall grows heavy with thought, the voices of gods weaving threads of doubt and understanding. Athena steps forward once more, her presence a balance of fire and calm, strength and grace. Father, you need not silence the thunder. Only let it walk beside wisdom, not above it. Let Olympus be not only a throne of power, but a beacon of justice, light and guidance. Her counsel closes like a circle, her words returning to the heart of what faith must be. The gods do not speak now, their silence no longer denial, but the hush of awakening. Zeus rises slowly, his figure towering, the weight of his choice pressing on all who watch. The sky outside rumbles faintly, not with anger, but as though the heavens themselves wait. Athena lowers her head in respect, her counsel delivered, her faith placed not in thunder, but in truth. And as the hall holds its breath, the story of Olympus bends toward a new path, yet unseen. The stars wheel slowly over Olympus, their silent witness stretching far beyond mortal lifetimes or divine debates. Zeus stands tall, the weight of eternity on his shoulders, his silence like thunder waiting to be born. Athena remains steadfast, her calm strength unbroken, her voice the compass guiding gods through storm and doubt. At last, Zeus speaks, his tone not wrathful but measured, carrying the gravity of sky and time. "You speak boldly, daughter," he begins, "and your counsel is sharp, like the edge of tempered steel. But wisdom must walk with caution, for mortals are fickle, their hearts shifting like the winds." He pauses, his eyes piercing the hall, each god held within the stormlight of his gaze. Give too much, and they forget their place. Give too little, and they turn their gaze away. The words hang heavy, balanced between truth and fear, echoing through the marble pillars of Olympus. Athena bows her head briefly, then lifts her voice again, steady as the owl beneath midnight skies. "Father, to guide is not to give all, nor to abandon. It is to light the path ahead. A flame need not burn the forest to warm the traveler. It need only show the way." Her words ripple through the hall, carrying clarity like dawn breaking through the veil of night. Hermes leans forward, eager, his voice swift and light, but tinged with rare sincerity. "I have walked among mortals more than most. They do not seek to claim Olympus as their own. They only wish to know their voices matter, that the sky above them is not deaf to their cries." A murmur stirs, some gods nodding, others wary, for the truth pulls them in opposite directions. Ares grunts, his voice edged with the fire of unyielding pride, yet touched with reluctant respect. Mortals are strong only when tested. If they are coddled, they lose the steel that makes them endure. Athena turns her gaze upon him, her words cutting not to wound, but to pierce with reason. Strength is forged by struggle, yes, but even steel cracks when it is never cooled, never cared for. Mortals do not ask for ease, only for hope to walk beside them in the hardest storms. Ares says nothing more, his silence heavier than his words, his eyes shadowed with thought. Demeter raises her hands, palms open as if offering seeds to the wind, her voice gentle. "Mortals sow their faith like fields. If we do not answer, their fields turn barren, their faith withers. Even the richest soil dies without rain, and Olympus is the rain that nourishes their spirit." The gods exchange glances, their immortal pride softening as truth takes root in fertile silence. Zeus exhales, his breath like wind over distant mountains, his voice now softer, less thunder, more sky. "There is wisdom in your words, daughter, and in the voices of those who stand with you. But to act is not a small choice. It is to shift the balance between heaven and earth." Athena bows slightly, her tone calm, each syllable deliberate as though carved into stone. "Father, balance is not broken by care. It is preserved when justice and strength walk hand in hand. If Olympus remains silent, the bridge to mortals crumbles, and balance shatters more swiftly." Her words rise and fall like waves, steady and unrelenting, each echoing in the hearts of gods. Hestia's flame flickers brighter, the hall glowing warmer, as though Olympus itself leans toward hope. The silence deepens once more, not empty but charged, like air before a storm that brings renewal. Zeus closes his eyes briefly. When they open, lightning flickers within, tempered with thought. The gods hold their breath, waiting, for in this moment the course of Olympus bends to decision. And as Athena watches, her counsel given, she knows the path of wisdom has begun to unfold. The morning sun spills gold across Olympus, its rays gliding over marble pillars like a blessing from beyond. The gods gather once more in the grand hall, their faces marked by the weight of endless deliberation. Athena stands firm, her gaze calm, her voice steady, carrying reason like a ship through turbulent seas. Father, we stand at a threshold, she begins, her words clear, her tone unshaken by the silence around her. Mortals rise with each dawn, shaping cities, crafting thought, weaving futures with hands both fragile and strong. To deny them guidance is to deny ourselves, for their fate and ours are threads of the same tapestry. Zeus listens, his expression carved in stone, yet within him, storms of thought crackle like unseen lightning. Apollo steps forward, golden light dancing in his eyes, and his voice a melody that bends shadows toward clarity. I have sung to mortals, given them music and healing. Their hearts carry echoes of Olympus within them. They look to us not as masters, but as guardians, as stars that light the night when hope feels lost. His words ripple, soft yet powerful, stirring the hall with memories of hymns sung by mortal voices. Hera, ever watchful, raises her voice, regal yet edged with the weight of order and preservation. Mortals, though noble in aspiration, are swift to forget the bonds that bind them to reverence. Too much favor, and they forget humility. Too much distance, and they forget awe. Athena meets her mother's eyes, her response woven with both respect and resolve. Reverence does not wither when nurtured. It grows stronger when rooted in justice, not fear. If we rule only by awe, we rule a crumbling foundation, brittle beneath the weight of time. The hall stills, the fire of Hestia flickering gently, her glow a reminder of home, hearth, and unity. Poseidon speaks at last, his voice a rolling tide, deep as oceans, restless as storms. Mortals sail seas they cannot tame, yet their courage is greater than their fear of drowning. They honor us when we guide their sails, when we calm their waters, not when we leave them adrift. His words echo like waves crashing upon marble, strong and unrelenting, yet touched with hidden care. Artemis steps from the shadows, her voice clear, her presence like the stillness of forests at dusk. They walk beneath the moon, their prayers whispered to the stars, seeking strength in the unseen. I have heard them. Their voices do not demand power, only that they not walk abandoned. Her words strike chords that linger, subtle but undeniable, pulling hearts toward compassion and clarity. Zeus closes his eyes, silence enveloping the chamber, his thoughts a storm of paradox and possibility. Athena waits, her patience unyielding, for wisdom is not born in haste, but in the stillness of reflection. The gods shift uneasily, their immortal pride tested by truths too clear to be ignored. Finally, Zeus speaks, his voice steady, not thunder, but sky after rain, vast and infinite. You ask much, daughter, yet you ask not for yourself, but for the bond between heaven and earth. To act will reshape what has been held for eons, but perhaps it is time Olympus reshaped with it. The hall breathes again, as though Olympus itself had exhaled after an eternity of silent restraint. Athena bows slightly, her heart steady, for the seed of counsel has begun to break into bloom. The gods, though not all in agreement, sense a shift, the first light of dawn after endless night. And as the sun climbs higher, Olympus itself seems to glow brighter, touched by the promise of change. The air of Olympus feels changed, lighter yet charged, as if the very sky awaits the choice of its king. Athena stands unmoved, her presence calm, her words lingering like the steady echo of an eternal flame. Zeus paces slowly, each step heavy, the sound of it rolling through the hall like distant thunder. His gaze rises toward the heavens, as though searching for an answer among the constellations above. "Daughter," he begins, voice deep, not harsh, but carved in stone. "Wisdom often bears a hidden cost. To open the gates of counsel to mortals is to invite voices beyond control, questions without end." The gods murmur, their unease swelling like a tide that cannot decide whether to rise or retreat. Athena meets his words with grace, her tone unwavering, her eyes as steady as the night sky. "Questions do not weaken Olympus, Father. Silence does. For silence is where doubt and despair grow. Mortals will stumble, yes, but stumbling is how they rise stronger, their faith renewed, not broken." Hermes nods quickly, his voice swift as winged sandals, filled with both urgency and light-hearted truth. "Mortals thrive on exchange, Father. They barter, they trade, they speak, and in their speaking, they build trust. To give them no ear is to let their words scatter like seeds on barren stone, never to bloom." Zeus narrows his eyes, yet he does not strike with thunder, only listens, though each word weighs upon him. Hera folds her arms, her voice crisp, holding to order as a shield against change's uncertain tide. "What you call counsel may breed defiance. What you call hope may kindle unrest against Olympus itself." Athena bows her head slightly, yet her reply carries strength, woven with calm reasoning like tempered steel. Defiance is not born from counsel, but from neglect. When the unheard cry long enough, it turns to fire. Her words echo, stirring a silence heavier than argument, for truth rests sharp in the air. Aphrodite, radiant yet measured, steps forward, her voice carrying the cadence of hearts both mortal and divine. Mortals love fiercely, even when the world denies them peace. That love is their offering, their tether to us. If we answer not, their love wanes, and where love dies, reverence fades like smoke in the wind. Her words soften the room, weaving compassion into corners often untouched by reason or might. Poseidon strikes his trident lightly upon the floor, his voice deep, like oceans shifting in their restless sleep. Mortals look to us not only for power, but for guidance across seas they cannot chart alone. If Olympus stays distant, their ships will sail elsewhere, and the bond will be forever weakened. Zeus turns, his eyes sweeping the assembly, a storm within them. Yet the storm no longer rages unchecked. He breathes deeply, his chest rising like a mountain beneath clouds, his tone now tempered with reflection. "You all speak of hope, of love, of guidance. Yet hope, love, and guidance are burdens as well as gifts. They bind us not only to rule but to answer, to share in their fate as though it were our own." Athena steps forward once more, her words calm, her strength unwavering in the vast chamber's echo. "Father, that is not a burden to flee, but the very essence of justice. To rule is to share." Her gaze sharpens, her voice rising, yet never with anger, only with truth honed clear as daylight. Olympus endures not because we are apart from mortals, but because we are bound with them in fate. Her final words linger, heavy and brilliant, seeding the air with a clarity none could deny. The gods fall silent, each caught between pride and the unshakable pull of Athena's wisdom. And Zeus, high king of Olympus, stands in the center, the weight of eternity balanced in his hand. The sky above Olympus swirls with light, clouds shifting as though listening to the voices of gods below. The great hall glimmers in silence, marble catching the glow of firelight, each god waiting for Zeus to decide. Athena stands with patience, her wisdom poised, her gaze steady like the North Star guiding ships at sea. Zeus lifts his hand, a gesture small yet immense, silencing murmurs, commanding attention with unspoken force. Change is not a thing lightly given, he declares, his voice vast, yet softened by currents of reflection. The bond between heaven and earth is delicate, like a bridge of crystal stretched across eternity. If we step too heavily, it will shatter, and both mortal and God will fall into endless ruin. His words rumble through the chamber, grave and measured, drawing both awe and uncertainty from immortal hearts. Athena answers, her voice clear, weaving calm through thunder, her counsel pressing like steady waves on stone. Father, the bridge is already cracking, not from weight, but from neglect. To strengthen it, we must walk. Her words cut the silence, sharp with truth, yet tender with care, striking chords in listening souls. Apollo speaks, his golden voice carrying warmth, a harmony that eases the tension pressing down the hall. Mortals compose songs of faith. They write hymns to us in their hearts. If we answer, their songs endure. But if silence greets them, their voices will wither, their music fading like echoes lost to wind. The gods exchange glances, their pride challenged by the simplicity of truth sung from Apollo's lips. Artemis nods, her tone calm as moonlight, her words touched with the silence of forests at night. They do not ask for dominion. They ask for presence, for the knowing that they are not alone. Even the smallest prayer, answered in kindness, keeps alive the flame that binds them to Olympus. Zeus listens, his eyes narrowing, though within them flickers a light, softer than lightning, steadier than fire. He turns his gaze to Hera, queen of Olympus, her expression stern, her mind weighing justice and order. They speak with conviction, he says, but order must not be broken. Tell me, Hera, what is your counsel? Hera raises her head high, her voice a balance of steel and silk, her wisdom rooted in endurance. Mortals must not be spoiled with constant gifts, but neither should they be forsaken in silence. To guide them is not to weaken Olympus. To answer them is not to diminish our reign. Her words fall steady, not yielding but not cruel, like law spoken with fairness, not with fear. Demeter follows, her voice soft as the turning of soil, carrying the promise of harvest and growth. Seeds sprout only with nurture. Left untended, fields wither. So too will mortal faith without our care. Her gentle truth warms the room, pulling even cold hearts toward reflection on bonds beyond themselves. Zeus closes his eyes. The silence vast, like clouds drawing in before rain, touches the waiting earth. Athena steps closer, her tone low, intimate, yet strong enough to echo across eternity's marble halls. Father, justice is not in thunder alone. It is in the light that steadies, the wisdom that endures. Olympus need not bend to mortals, but Olympus must not forsake them, for they are part of us. Her words linger, settling deep into the stillness, seeds cast into fertile ground that none could uproot. Zeus exhales, long and heavy, the sound like wind traveling from mountain to sea, ancient and vast. The gods lean forward, breath held, for in his decision rests the shape of bonds between realms eternal. At last, his voice returns, no longer only thunder, but sky, broad, endless, and touched by light. Perhaps it is time Olympus remembers not only its throne, but its bond. The bridge must not break. A hush falls, the hall glowing with a warmth not born of flame, but of hope newly kindled within. Athena bows her head, her heart steady. for the council has reached its mark, though the journey is not done. The halls of Olympus glow in quiet majesty, the air heavy with the weight of words spoken and heard. The gods linger, their immortal eyes turned toward Zeus, the silence deep as oceans, vast as eternity itself. Athena stands unwavering, her wisdom offered, her heart steady, knowing the seed of counsel has taken root. Zeus rises from his throne, each motion deliberate, his presence filling the chamber like dawn fills the sky. Mortals shall not be abandoned, he declares, his voice thunder softened by light, vast but no longer distant. We shall not rule as shadows above their heads, nor as tyrants pressing them to the earth. Instead, we will guide, not with chains, but with sparks, flames to light paths, not to scorch fields. His words echo through the marble hall, their resonance weaving into the hearts of gods gathered there. Hera inclines her head, regal and calm, her voice steady as she accepts this balance with tempered grace. Order is preserved not by silence, but by harmony, when justice and reverence walk hand in hand. Poseidon nods, his eyes deep as the sea, his trident steady, his voice a tide of reluctant approval. Then let us shape currents to carry them forward, not storms to drive them away from us. Apollo's light shimmers brighter, his face aglow with the promise of songs yet unwritten by mortal hearts. Let their hymns rise with renewed strength, for Olympus shall answer, not as master, but as guide. Artemis lifts her bow, the silver gleam calm beneath torchlight, her voice as soft as night's embrace. I will walk among them in silence, yet they shall know I watch, and that they are not alone. Demeter smiles, her words gentle as fields in bloom, her presence warm as fertile soil in spring. Their harvests will thrive when their faith is tended, and Olympus shall share in their renewal. Aphrodite steps forward, her radiance tender, her tone carrying the rhythm of love, eternal and unbroken. Where love flourishes, Olympus endures. To honor their hearts is to strengthen our own divinity. Hermes laughs softly, his voice swift as air, but grounded with truth sharper than his usual mirth. Then I shall carry their prayers swiftly, not as burdens, but as bridges from their world to ours. The gods bow their heads, each in solemn acceptance, the great hall glowing brighter with shared resolve. Zeus turns to Athena, his eyes no longer storm-filled but clear, vast skies after the tempest has passed. Daughter, your counsel has carried Olympus from pride to wisdom, from silence to truth. I honor it. Athena bows deeply, not in triumph, but in respect. Her voice calm, her words humble yet resolute. Father, Olympus is strongest not when it towers above, but when it walks beside those who believe. The chamber hums with quiet peace, the fire of Hestia flickering gently, warmth spreading like sunrise. Beyond Olympus, the world stirs, mortals rising with the dawn, unaware of the vow forged above. Their prayers will find answers, not always grand, not always swift, but never again lost in silence. The bond between heaven and earth, once fragile, now strengthened, glows like a bridge of light, eternal. Zeus lifts his hand once more, not in command, but in blessing, his voice steady as mountains enduring. Let it be so. Olympus shall guide with wisdom, with justice, and with care unbroken. The gods echo his decree, their voices harmonizing, not as rivals, but as kin bound by purpose shared. And so the council ends, but the story begins anew, the dawn of trust between mortal and divine. Athena steps back into shadow, her heart at peace, knowing wisdom has found its place in eternity. The halls of Olympus shimmer in quiet splendor, no longer burdened with silence, but alive with promise. And far below, on the earth, mortals lift their eyes to the heavens, their faith burning brighter than before.